Welcome to West Virginia Uncommon Place. Today is Swap for Swap episode. Me and Chaotic Neutral podcast. We just did an episode over there on their podcast, and now they are over on my podcast. Everyone knows that I'm kind of theme oriented to my podcast. Their podcast is chaotic, but it's neutral, and it has a rather random structure. So, Chaotic Neutral, please
Yes.
tell my audience about yourself. And within these podcast to podcast episodes, we keep ourselves a little clouded with who we are, but Chaotic Neutral will be able to tell you a little bit about themselves.
Well, I am a podcaster and I started like almost a year ago. And for me, I'm a very avid anime watcher. I am a collector. I have a lot of pins that I collect and crazy socks that I wear for days. And I love shopping, reading books, drawing as well, like kind of an artsy person. And I also, fun fact about me, I have very small feet. So I wear size 5 in women's, which is finding a needle in a haystack.
Okay, so for my audience, these are key things that I like to ask podcasters. Um, and the reason I like to ask because you never know who you're going to help with your podcast. You never know who you're going to give enough courage to start a podcast, and no one ever knows what type of courage it took you to start your podcast. So, Chaotic Neutral, please tell us why you started your podcast. And this is going to be a two-part question, okay? So, why you started your podcast, and what kind of feeling do you get when you hear from people that they're excited about your podcast? What kind of feeling does that give you?
Well, I started because I've always, had a way of like storytelling and all that. Like my structure's all over the place. I don't go from A, B, and C. I go from A, what's the square root of 9, to my favorite color's purple. Then I go back to A, and then I end in C. So it's my own structure, and it's more entertaining. At least I think so. And when I started, I had kind of like this recommendation with a friend because he said, I have a way with like kind of explaining stories and all that, and I'm like very energetic and all that, so I should, start a podcast. So me being impulsive was like, all right, let me see what apps I can use. And the first one that showed up that had, pretty good reviews was Anchor, and that's where I, post my episodes on. I tend to keep them like usually unedited, it's like a conversation with someone. I just like talk, I go all over the place, like I have like a specific kind of topic, but we don't stay long on that. I go from topic to topic, and I kind of have fun with it. It's like talking to like someone, when it's just recorded. And whenever people say that they like enjoy my episodes and all that, like a close friend of mine, she was like, yeah, like listen to like all your episodes and all that. And of course, like I did an episode with her, so she said that was her favorite episode. And I was like, okay, well, what others do you like? I'm like, well, I like the other one that you did with another close friend of mine because, I tend to, try to find conversation with like people that are like close by and all that. But like with Anchor, I just send out a link, and then people join and we talk. So it's really fun to see people like enjoy that aspect of it, and it's really good to like hear from people, and, leave reviews and stuff because like, hey, people are listening and they like enjoy. And that's, when I start and when I post episodes, it's like, hey, if you want to listen, that's cool. And like people enjoy it. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just keep doing it.
So, here's a cool thing that I like about her podcast, and I mean your podcast. I'm sorry I said her, but whatever. Is this like with what you have? I'm gonna dub a name for what you have. You have organized chaos.
Yeah.
Organized chaos, and like I said, with my and thank you for that little thing right there about showing me how to rename it. I like that. That was pretty cool. You seen I did it too. And I want to thank you for, like, you have to understand this, audience. Chaotic Neutral uses Anchor's native recording system, correct?
Yes.
And I was really excited that she accepted to come on to Zoom, because everybody knows how I am about Zoom and everything else. I'm like, Zoom is the greatest gift to Earth.
Especially with remote learning, it's the greatest thing.
Yeah, well, listen, remote learning, and also just like when you're doing a podcast, like I have this dream, and hopefully you can be part of this at some point. Like, I don't even care what the topic is, just if people, like, I did do the friend zone one, but that one might be like out of the way. But like maybe one day, like a group podcast of what people think about friendships or anything, just something crazy to have a bunch of people on. I know that you can do that with Anchor, but I feel like
Yeah.
Zoom is the better place to do it, because you can check audio levels where I'm technical, not to edit the episode, but like how we're going back and forth. There's a certain type of cancellation if me and you say the same word at the same time. Like if I say R, you say R, one of them, it'll range them both the same. And with Anchor, I could never do that. If we ever started talking, it'll do that transformer robot thing, like how they move.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say thank you so much for coming over to the Zoom platform. Hopefully it'll become your home one day. And that's not a plug for Zoom. That's just, putting a little persuasion out there in the world. Now,
Well, I use it like religiously for most of my classes, so it's like kind of ingrained on me. It's like, you won't leave yet, and I'm like, okay, I have classes with you, might as well stay along. But yeah, like I've been for Anchor for so long, it's kind of like a break away from the drone of doing my work and listening to like 45 minutes of my teachers.
okay, so I understand. So it's kind of like I get it. Then I definitely wouldn't want to use Zoom. And Zoom is part of my life that way, but not my case. So, fun little things that we do on the show is like, there's questions, there's answers, to everything. But today, this is going to be non-structured on your show, which will air sometime in the future, and this one will air sometime in the future. Because the weird thing about me is that my season 3 is done, right? Well, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
With your episode right now, this could actually end up going to my season 4, because I do 20 episodes a season, and this is probably like number 12 or 13 that could be inside that, or I could just throw it up in season 3 and then throw another episode in season 4. So it's not that I record heavy, but like this week alone, I will be doing, I don't know how many, a few episodes, not too many, but enough to keep going. And I like that you do a podcast here and there, but you always do a podcast every week, correct?
Yeah, I try to. Yeah, I don't have like seasons and all that. I just like post where I go.
Like I'll give you between, what are we in, Monday? So
Yeah.
by Wednesday I'll have, or no, by Thursday at 5:30 I'll have had your number one of my guests. I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guests by then.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so like all I try to do is work it up enough to where I can advertise. Because see, what you do with yours is real awesome. And let me tell you, audience, I know that I'm doing a lot of talking, but I'll let Chaotic Neutral explain this to you. Like, she gets on here, she gets on Instagram. You do very limited promotion of your own podcast. You go out and promote other podcasters.
Yes.
And you promote them through the roof. And I stole that from you because I started doing it myself. And and I wanted to thank you for that. Like the way that you treat other podcasters on Instagram, it makes Instagram a very warm place for podcasters. How do you feel about that?
Well, I kind of got inspiration from, just Isabel Things. Like, she's also a podcaster. And she made an episode of, like, how she grew her podcast. And, I kind of got inspiration from that. And, like, when I started off, I didn't have, like, that many followers. I just followed, like, people, in my own community and all that. And, like, after a while, I finally branched out and just followed other podcasters. In the podcast community, we're all the same, trying to share our voice. So I just, rapid fire followed people, and when they follow back, I was like, oh, cool. And, just posted an episode that I made with someone, put on my story and all that. And, like other people, like if someone else is like a small podcast, you just like their, posts. And then if someone likes mine, I take a screenshot and then I add like their tag and be like, hey, go like check them out. And after I do that, I add to like my highlight reel on Instagram, and I have like so many people like I shouted out. I have like 4 of the same thing being like, hey, here's some people to follow. Because, you know, everyone is like really interesting. Like, we kind of started a podcast, so, you know, we can voice our opinions, you know, be ourselves, and like people want to, you know, listen to us, you know. And for me, like, I kind of like do it, you know, just because, like, I'm not here to, you know, make a profit or anything. I kind of do it as a hobby. And, you know, it's really cool. Like, after I end an episode, people say like they really enjoy it because I'm like really laid back, I'm really energetic and all that. And whenever I'm like doing a collab or something, you know, I just kind of like promote them because, like, hey, like, I'm doing my own thing, but also like check them out. And like, it's always good to, like, you know, receive the same thing, you know, be like, hey, check them out as well. So it's kind of like back and forth, you know, like spread the kindness.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that because like I took that from you. I was like, this is what Chaotic Neutral does. I was like, let me go over to Canva, and for my audience, I do use Canva for some of my stories and stuff like that. And I'll look at what I can function. Like I did one with, like, I listened to this podcast, and like you said, I tagged certain people so that they gave them a little notoriety for my little group of people that follow me. And then, you know, I always say like this: at least if you have 100 followers, that means you really got 300 followers. Because from those 100 people, 2 people they know, they'll pass it along to out of the 100 people that they deal with day to day. So your number keeps growing like that. And my whole thing the reason that I like to give back is because I know when I first started, if it wasn't because of the connections I had in the world with certain people, because, like, you know, I brought on rappers and musicians and singers and activists and the West Virginia Farmers Market Association, like, you know, um, I had kind of like a, not like a sponsorship, but I kind of had people around me, and someone like you, in your case, that you built an audience and just kept it going. That's something I admire, and that's something that you should really like take a lot of pride in, because you basically built your podcast off the ground, and look where it is today.
Yeah, and like I always look back because like it's almost my 1 year, you know, anniversary, like starting this. And it's kind of wild to me because like so many people enjoy like what I put out, or like just my vibe in general. And like for me, I think it all is because I'm like being my authentic self, because I'm so used to, you know, not really like withholding that, but like not really showing it because, you know, at school and all that, it's like, oh, wait, okay, yeah, there's like breakout rooms and all that, but also can you like do this, you know, Edgar Allan Poe worksheet? So you don't really have time, or like not as much to, you know, share your creative side and all that. And that's like what my podcast is, and that's how I branched out, you know, my creative side. You know, I do crazy looks, I, you know, sketch, and because of that, that's where I kind of like clicked in and enhanced my, you know, authentic, creative, crafty side.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense there. Okay, so my audience, they decide that they want to become your audience too, which everybody's audience. I said that the wrong way. Um, where do they listen to Chaotic Neutral? Where can they find your podcast? What's the easiest way to get to it?
Oh gosh, like the major ones is like either Spotify or Apple Podcast. But with Anchor, you know, it, you know, has it everywhere else. Like, you know, you listen to Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast, and
All
stuff
right,
like that. But
all right. So let me break
yeah.
down something real quick. All right, because we both spoke earlier about this. I carry every device. I carry a Galaxy Note. I carry an iPhone. Those are my 2 phones. Now, your podcast is easy to find on Anchor and on Apple. But when I type in Chaotic Neutral, I got to do a little work on Google Podcasts.
Usually, well, I think it depends because, like, I don't think there's a lot of names like Chaotic Neutral. Like, I think there is, but it's like for Dungeons and Dragons and all that. And I don't really, you know, kind of promote stuff because I personally don't go on like the other podcasting streaming sites, though. You know, for me, I kind of do like the mainstream ones that like are kind of big, or, you know, if people want to find me, they can. Like, I'm not one, you know, again, that kind of like is like, yeah, find me here, here, and here. I'm just like, hey, you know, I post on here. If you want to listen, you can.
Okay. But I'm just saying that, like, I do honestly believe that with everything that's going on, like Google Podcast is like picking up. And one thing too, let's talk about this. Dungeons and Dragons. What is a chaotic neutral character?
Well, for me, like I have like a Dungeons and Dragons character and she's chaotic good. Though for chaotic neutral, it's kind of like you don't have set rules, like you're not good or evil, but you're also kind of kind of crazy. Like example like Jack Sparrow. He kind of plays by his own rules and all that. He isn't one that's kind of set in the same thing. They're kind of, you know, off on their own doing their own thing, and that's kind of like what my podcast is. You know, I don't have a set format. I go all over the place, but at the same time it is a format. Like, you know, what it's like organized chaos.
Okay. Okay, I can go for that. And any other Dungeons and Dragons players, you know what chaotic neutral means. And now we have this meaning also. Okay, so tell people about your artistic views and what you draw, because this is something amazing. And I'll say this about you, chaotic neutral. Where can people follow you on Instagram, real quick, again?
My name on Instagram is chaotic neutral pod. It's all one word.
Okay. And the only reason I get you to plug that is because we know on podcasts that people skip through the episode. So they might listen to one part and then they might listen to another part. And I do break my episodes up. So I may ask you another time to plug it again, just for the simple fact that I want people to be able to find you and to get interested and to get involved in everything that you have going on. Now, cool thing about Chaotic Neutral gets out here on Instagram Live and does numerous things. Uh, Artistry that she does, that you do on your face.
Yeah.
and there's one thing that's really awesome, because I've seen a little bit of the artwork that you do with.
Yeah, I kind of like, you know, have my creative side. Like I started like quarantine, you know, sketching and all that, and I'm not good at faces at all. Like I cannot get the proportions right. Like I can draw eyes, sure, but if you need to have the mouth and nose, like it's either off or something. But one thing that I'm really good at least I think so, is drawing hands. And what I do is like my inspiration is literally like my left hand and I draw with my right. So like I have like my left hand at like a certain angle or a certain shape, and I just like sketch it. And you know, I have like two sketchbooks. The second one I have, that's more recent, has a lot of, you know, hands and all that. And you know, even though that's like, it's not like I'm a one trick pony. Like I draw eyes as well, but I kind of do that. And you know, whenever I'm like bored or something, I could just do a quick hand sketch. You know, not a lot of artists can do that. Like that's really hard to do, especially to get like each of the fingers right and all that. And another thing that I've kind of done for quarantine and all that is makeup looks. Now for me, I'm not professional. I don't have, you know, all this product. I literally just use eyeshadow and Mod Podge glue, which isn't, I don't think, it's not toxic. I probably should have it on my face, but I don't put it like in my eye area. And I don't use it that much. But I've been, you know, doing really cool looks with that, kind of doing inspiration, especially like around the holidays and all that. Halloween was really big for that. And, you know, whenever I go on live and all that, I like do looks or something, you know, if people want to see me go through the process, they can. And, you know, for a while, like, the past look that I've done is, you know, kind of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you know, just made my face like a JoJo character. But, you know, other times that I went live, you know, just went, you know, just do makeup looks, you know, and talk through, you know, give a little bit of commentary. But I think like maybe after Christmas, you know, maybe have some New Year's looks and stuff.
Okay. So what's the next thing? What's the next thing you're going to do in the next few weeks? You got Christmas coming up. What kind of gift are you going to get for your parents?
Oh gosh, like my mom, she really likes makeup and all that, and she likes a Gap, like the clothing brand and all that.
Okay.
And like her aesthetic for a room is like kind of like home style and all of that, like the rustic look. And I actually went to my aunt's house like over the weekend a few weeks ago. And my sister and I, we went to Hobby Lobby, and in there they kind of have like the rustic look. So we actually got a like painting that says like something along the lines of like live laugh love, but it's like another meaning and all that, but it kind of has the same like same theme. So that's what I've gotten. And I know for my dad, he loves Reese's Pieces, so we just got the king size ones.
And that's it.
Well, we also got my dad an iTunes gift card because he's really into his iPad and all that, playing games and all that. And I know like my sister's more like, she's more into and all that. Me, I'm kind of like a daydreamer and all that, like not really aware of like, oh yeah, gifts and all that. She's more like systematic and organized on like what we're getting our parents and all that. I'm just there to wrap gifts.
So all right, so that kind of works out. It's like a dynamic. One does this, one does the other.
Yeah.
All right, so on my show, we have different topics, different things going on, different scenarios. So I'm going to give you a scenario. It's Christmas time. Y'all are about to have Christmas dinner, not Thanksgiving dinner. What's the first thing that you want your mom to make for Christmas dinner?
Well, usually for like Christmas dinner, we either have mashed potatoes and all that, and I dig through the mashed potatoes. Like I love it. And usually we have ham or turkey and deviled eggs. I'm not fond of deviled eggs. It's not my thing, but it's like my, the rest of the family, I'm like the odd sheep. It's like, nah, I'm not into that. But give me, another helping of green beans and mashed potatoes. But that's what I eat. And sometimes, if we're feeling fancy, we'll have like sparkling cider and drink that. And usually, like the day before Christmas, like, Christmas Eve, it's kind of like a seafood. Though for me, we had crab one day. And for me, I was like really into it. I ate 3, full crabs. And I got really sick because, I ate 3 whole crabs. So now,
That's a lot, yeah.
I'll probably have like a crab leg and see if I can handle it, but I'm probably not going to eat as much crab.
Okay. That's a little wild.
Yeah. I was really into it. Like, I'm not one that's dainty, having like, a spoonful. I'm like, nah, give me everything. It's a feast. It's a holiday. It's fine.
Now, because you're actually on my podcast. So here's my question to you: who has been one of your most enjoyable guests to have on your show? Because everyone, it's very rare that 2 podcasters get together and do a show, and you have been breaking the stigma, like you do shows with podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
So who's been let's just go ahead and get it out there. Who's been your favorite guest on your show?
Oh gosh, like I have had like a lot of people that I talk to. My sister's one per se, but like I talk to her all the time. So she's kind of like, not to say exception, but she's like already kind of up there since I talk to her all the time, and
Okay.
She kind of puts up with me. Another one that I had that's really fun. I had my most recent one with my aunt, and that was really fun because she's really cool, and she's really like, I always talk about her in a couple of episodes. Hey, here's my aunt. I finally did an episode with her. And since I've talked to so many, and it's like not all of the episodes are the same.
Right.
The one that I really had a fun time with is the Unbreakable Vibe podcast. Like, of course, there's others, and he's like from Canada and all that, and I had like a really great time just talking and socializing and all that. And if someone told me like, okay, what about like this guest, I could like go off on like what we talked about, my favorite moments and all that. So it's like there's always like a special place for each of my episodes, and it's not, I don't have like not a set of like list of like, oh yeah, this is my favorite, this one's my least favorite. Like there's always like a different theme or a different guest, and not all of them are the same, but like I feel like all of them are favorite, if that makes sense. Like they're all like, I put out like what I am proud of.
Okay, and I like that answer because that answer, that wasn't a dig on anybody. That was like a real, I'd say it was a real, it's a real good answer. Me personally, I'm going to reverse the question and ask myself, I will say that I like every one of my guests the same way. Like you said, there's different aspects. I'll tell you, like, once you get a little bit older and you move away from your friends and stuff, I think my favorite episode that I've done this sort, I have a friend named Amy Banton. I did one with her. That was really cool. And then on the flip side, the show that I do with the West Virginia Farmers Market Association, because that's something that's really big in the community now because of COVID and everything. I really enjoyed that one. And even doing an episode with you, because like I said, podcasters and podcasters doing episodes, you're my second podcaster to come on my show. I just had one that I filmed an episode with all the way back in October, and I finally got her episode out. Like I had time, in the right time to do that. And the one thing, like I was saying on your podcast, that I like about your audience is, and the way you do things is, you don't have to worry about the climate of what you put out and when you put it out. Because like I said, like this past Saturday, I have series inside of my podcast. There's 2 episodes that were too, and I hate to cap it and say unorthodox, but I'll say 2 episodes that I had that were so controversial that even though it doesn't matter what time you put a podcast out or whatever, but this one individual subject was something that I just couldn't put out during the day on Thursday. So I put it out on Saturday, and I was like, man, if only I hadn't made structure into my podcast, I could just release whatever I want whenever and not worry about crowds. And that's the cool thing about you. You don't worry about the crowds. You listen and do things to your own drum. You don't, or beat to your own drum. You don't have all this craziness going on with you. So here's another question that I have for you. And this is like a serious question. So put on your serious thinking cap with this one, please.
That's gonna be hard.
Yeah, this one's like dead serious. Okay. If you could teach a class on doing podcasts, give me the first 4 courses, what they would be called, and how you would teach them.
Okay, so the first 4. So 1 is communication, okay? Like it's like with any other relationship, communication is key. You just have to make sure, you're still there, post, and, that will be like, okay, here's an episode, and promote others as well. So, they will be like, oh, like this person's cool, hey, listen to this person as well. Like, it's like giving back. Another course will be like collabs, because for me, I really like it because you can, communicate with fellow podcasters and all that, and if you have the same subjects or the same theme of your podcast, it's really fun, talking about and have similar interests. A third one will be promotion. For me, I just do it, on Instagram and stuff, and on Anchor, as I post, be like, hey, there's this person, or I just hit so many followers, go follow me on Insta if you haven't yet. So make sure to have that kind of promotion and all that, and that kind of ties in with communication. The fourth one will be kind of breaks. Okay, you don't want to be a spammer and be like, hey, this and this. I personally, if someone posts 25 posts on their story, that kind of tunes people off, especially the younger generation. They're quick, they're okay, if it's not in between 5 seconds to a minute and it's not engaging, I'm not into it. So you kind of have to have that even ground of like, okay, so I'm gonna post this, or okay, what's the good amount? So like that's the main four I can think of.
Okay, and I like that. And that right there, like you said, a simple marketing tool. And I think that's the thing that the older generations and even the middle generation tries to figure out about the younger generation, like how to catch their attention. Because, and no disrespect to what I'm saying, but y'all's attention spans are not the same
No.
as mine or someone else. Because like me, for instance, when it comes to actual posting, I have this app called Hootsuite. Are you familiar with that?
That sounds really familiar. I don't use it personally.
All right. Well, let me tell you a little bit about this, and this is for my audience because I've been going on about it on my Instagram. Hootsuite does my posting on Sundays, and I want everyone to hear this clearly. On Sunday, every promotion that I'm going to put out that comes out at Monday at 9:42 in the morning or 9:50 in the afternoon, it is Hootsuite that is posting it for me. I created it on Sunday, and I was like, man, I wanted to come out at 12 o'clock Wednesday, whatever, or Thursday at 1:42. I do not spend that much time on Instagram. I may do something for my stories to get a little audience in there, here or there, and then I will do like what you do about loaning out a little bit of my time to other podcasts to help build them up. But I do not, and I'm serious about this, I do not spend a lot of time on their advertising because this Hootsuite does everything I needed to do. It'll post it on Instagram, Facebook, and then I'm done. So basically, I just sit back and then people will comment. They'll be like, oh, whoa, you spend a lot of time. And I'm like, no, no, sorry, Bob. On Sunday, I take an hour, get the ads ready, they go out, you know?
Well, and at the same time, that kind of goes with like, I think that's why people, that's how at least I think I gained so much traction on Instagram. It's like, you have to, you know, be engaging with like other people and like their audience. I reply to people's questions or polls on their stories, and like sometimes I like comment on people's posts and I like it and all that. So it's like kind of like knowing like, hey, I'm showing you this, like look at like what I post and all that. It's like, oh yeah, it's like how they can pay attention and all that and see.
Okay, I like that idea and that thought. Now, all right, so you got this course going and you're teaching people, all right, that's part of the scenario. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you graduate to become a successful podcaster? Now, I'm going to describe success to me, and then I want to know what success to you is. Like, my success is very simple, that I have a loyal, and like I said, I don't care about having 10,000, 12,000, 20,000, or 100,000 fans. I'm talking about a simple number. I put that number in my head. My number is 25. I wanted 25 people to listen to me every single week. And obviously, we both got 25. But the thing is, that's the optimal number that I need to entertain. Anybody else outside of that, that's amazing. But 25 people that come back each week that give me feedback, that's what I considered my success. Once I got 25 people, I was successful because that's what I wanted. What is success for you? And how would you teach success in your course that you're teaching?
Mm, well, for me, like success is like reaching your goal and all that. And like my goal is like I don't really have like a set goal. It would be nice, to have people listen and all that, but I just do it, for fun and like as a hobby. But I think maybe the one, you know, success that I'll have is like if I have more like a lot of growth. Like if I have like one person more each like day or week or like any set numbers, if I like increase in growth, that's what everyone wants. But like if you know just have growth membership, that will be like really cool, and like that will be success to me, is like still growing after like each episode, each post, just gaining traction as I go.
Okay, I like that. That right there is real sensible. Okay, so after you did this scenario right here, this was all something purely in the scenario audience. What is your true advice to someone that wants to do a podcast tomorrow? Do you tell them to pick up Anchor, put a set of headphones on, and just start recording? What do you tell them?
Well, practice makes perfect. Like for me, like when my first episode's like no way means like, perfect. But like then again, none of my episodes are like, I have like raw, unedited, audio. And like you have to find your own theme and stuff. Like what do you want to post? Like I like to, just talk, have a conversation. That's what my podcast is. And for me, you just have to do what you feel is best for you because, you are the one that is posting the episodes. So what I did is, just like post a couple of episodes, or you can just, post on Instagram and be like, hey, I'm new, and just like follow fellow podcasters. So, they'll like follow you and be like, oh, like they'll know that, you're a fellow podcaster. Post some episodes, interact with other podcasters, like in the podcast community. Like I feel we're all, pretty close and all that. Like we all, are very, optimistic, positive, trying to, because all that we're here for is, posting, being our authentic self. So, to start off, you have to, post what you feel is what you want. Just keep going with it and, have engaging conversation and just have stuff that will like what you feel will bring in your audience. And if you want to, like for me, like collab, talk to other podcasters, get their input as well. So and like get advice and all that.
Okay, and I like that. Now, here's my next question for you. How do you transition from your style of podcast to like this talk show host podcast style that we're doing now? How do you make that transition? Because I'll say for me on your podcast it was real easy because you made it real natural. And then when I got a little nervous because we don't ever talk about our insecurities in podcasting, that's when I switched on my mechanism and I kind of flipped it over and started asking questions because I was like, okay, it's going pretty cool. I was like, but let me do that West Virginian commonplace question Q&A type deal. And then we went off that and we went to talking about other stuff because I got comfortable again. How do you have that turn off switch and on switch like that? Like you go from your organized chaos, which is nothing wrong with that, to something that's structured like this because we're having questions, we're still talking, but it's like now it's like you're a totally different person. Like you're just here interviewing and you're just going back and forth, but it's structured now. Like how do you do that?
Well, for me, like I am a very social person, and everyone has like they know how to fluctuate in their surroundings and all that. And for me, like, I joined a lot of clubs. I've, talked to like other people, and everyone has like their differences and all that. And for me, like, I'm really good at, just communication on it. And people communicate differently, or they have their own set of like rules and all that. For me, it's like, you know, I'm kind of like for my own podcast, like because I've been so used to, having the drone on of okay, schoolwork, then home, then sports and all that. Like I wanted to, just be myself, being energetic and all that. And for me, I kind of fluctuate with, I kind of I try to build my energy with someone else and, kind of have the evenness and all that. Like I try not to be so overpowering or kind of like underneath. Like I try to find that middle ground, and I go with the flow with other people, but for mine, it's like, hey, you join mine, and hey, if you want to have your input, go for it.
Okay. But like what I'm saying is it's cool that you do that because like I don't know if it puts you out of your comfort zone, but you just went in here and just did the podcast the way I do it, and like you were cool with it. And I went over to your arena, did it the way you did it, and it's how you worked out really smooth. So I want to say this, and I want to say this to the audience, and I want to say this to future guests and to future guests on Chaotic Neutral. you can learn a lot from each other. Like, 'cause
Mm-hmm.
like I said, with your advertising techniques, even though you don't probably consider them that, your advertising techniques are unique enough. Like I said previously on her podcast, I keep forgetting that we're doing a podcast for a podcast. So let me bring this back up real fast. You invited me to Among Us, which is a game that has huge success right now. I played it with you. We played like maybe 4 or 5 rounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And you were, as we say, simulcasting that also on Instagram Live, and it was really a nice, cool, interactive thing. I took your idea, took it over to Mario Kart, did what I did with it. Haven't tried it with PUBG yet because PUBG is really, it's basically a third person Call of Duty, so that's really intense. So you have to build relationships to play with people on that, I believe. But I would even take it as far as like I could take your concept and take it over to Fortnite if people were still playing
Yeah.
Fortnite. Well, people aren't playing Fortnite, so no, and that cool tactic you have there, like that made me want to be more interactive with my audience. Like I answer more questions. One thing I am guilty of is I do not answer a lot of questions on air, but if someone asks me, I will personally go to them or in some type of video or something that I'm doing somewhere, I'll mention it, even if it's over on Twitter. I didn't say Tumblr. Some people get that mixed up, which I do advertise on Tumblr, but nobody uses it. I don't even know what it's for. But I really don't. But anyway, so here's my next question for you. All right, your podcast right now today, it's almost a year old, correct?
Yes.
What is going to be your 1 year celebration? What are you doing special for the 1 year episode, or in conjunction with you've been doing your podcast for a year?
I'm thinking of like kind of having like short segments of like each of the guests that I had on the show and kind of make like maybe an hour long, 1 year anniversary, or just, talk about, how I've grown and all that. Like I have a lot of ideas, and maybe I can have like some sort of multiple, you know, people on the same episode and just like talk and all that. Like I have a lot of ideas, and it's not that far away, but it's like far away enough where I don't have anything set in stone yet, but I have like ideas here and there.
Okay, because like I said, you gave me like the concept too, and I told you the one I'm going to run with when I do my friend zone episode or whatever I decide that's going to be. It's probably going to just be the friend zone because everybody can relate to that somewhere in life. No matter who you are, where you are in life, everybody's been put in the friend zone. So I probably will do that one Saturday, and then make it an episode for another Saturday. So I think a good idea could be that you could use my favorite platform, Zoom, and have 30 guests on at the same time and talk to all of them. that would be amazing. Because
Would be cool.
all I'm trying to do now is I want to try to get 7 guests for this. And I open the invitation to everybody, even you. I said I don't have a set topic for it, but I did throw out there the friend zone one because that's one that everybody can talk about and not feel weird about it, I think. And I think I'm going to do that, and that's going to be one of my showcase episodes. Like one of the things that I throw out there on Saturday. That would be pretty cool because I want to ask you this: what is your like favorite day of the week?
I don't like for me, I don't really have a preference and all that. I kind of just, go with the flow and all that. So I don't have anything set in mind.
I'll say Saturday's always been my favorite day pre-COVID-19 because I don't know what COVID-19's changed life now, so nobody goes anywhere, and if you do,
Mm-hmm.
it's not good for you. So Saturday's always been my set day to do. Like Saturday's a special day to me ever since I was a kid. I don't know what it is, but Saturday's a day that I just, the magic happens like in Disney World. So that's my day. So there's this thing that goes on my episode, and we did it on your episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you the story about the guy with the Rubik's Cube. In my audience, I tell the story all the time, so I want to do somebody different this time. This lady that was on my show. She's a teacher, college professor, and all this other stuff. But in high school, this lady had like her grade point average was like a 1.7, and it was a secret she told us. Like, because you would think that a teacher would have had good grades. Like, how are you a teacher and you have bad grades? Like, her GPA was a 1.7, and anybody knows that's been in school or goes to school, if your GPA is a 1.7, you're not a part of anything but just going to school. You're not on any academic or sports team because that's a bad grade, correct? 1.7, that's pretty much just showing up to school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought this was kind of amazing about her because I was like, you're highly intelligent. And then, in life, sometimes you can be fooled by someone's vocabulary because they can have a very good vernacular and they could be not very educated. But that was a secret or a talent she told us. Now, you get a double whammy because you told your secret or talent on your show. So now we need something new.
Well, I do have it's not really a secret per se. Like, I kind of told it in a couple of episodes, but it's kind of something that I don't really talk about a lot. Is I pierced my own second set of for my earrings with a safety pin.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, because I had a dream that I don't know why it's oh yeah, this is why I did it. I had a dream that I pierced my own ears, and I was like, all right, okay, bet, because it's cartilage and it doesn't really hurt that bad. So I just went boom. I put in earrings, and it was actually the day of a basketball game. I walked past my mom, and she's like, wait, come back here. I was like, okay. She's like, I mean, at least they're even. Just don't do it again. I'm like, okay.
Oh wow, so that's a good one. I like that one. Okay, I want to tell you, Chaotic Neutral, it has been a pleasure having you on the podcast. And audience, let me tell you how this marathon runs. We just did the podcast over there for Chaotic Neutral, and we're doing this one right after that. So it's a lot of talking going on. I've had to drink a half a cup of Sunny Delight with my hand over the microphone to keep up with everything. I want to thank you for being a guest. And one other thing, on this show, we ask that everyone give a shout out to someone that's important to them or the people that made you who you are today. In your case, I would consider that you have a shout out to your aunt and quite a few other people. So if you wouldn't mind, please tell the audience who you want to give a shout out to.
I want to give out a shout out to, the guests that I, interviewed or had a conversation with, because, they kind of made me keep going with it because, they were interested or they, liked what I did. And I like to, shout out my sister because she kind of begrudgingly is yeah, okay, I'll be on an episode. I'm like, yay. And also the audience, because without them I wouldn't have as much motivation and have as much energy of doing it. I actually enjoy having people on my podcast and all that. And I would like to give a shout without Anchor, I feel I wouldn't really start out and know what to do or won't have all this idea because I kind of just basically started from Anchor, and I'll probably still continue it, but maybe I'll join soon. And I like to just shout out fellow podcasters that followed me along the way and all that, and keep communication with me because that's what's awesome about being a podcaster.
Okay, that was pretty cool. Now, something new that I want to do because you kind of inspired me to ask you this. What's your motto in life? Everybody has a saying or a motto. What's yours?
Mine is never lose sight of who you are, or don't lose that dream that keeps you going. Because for me, my dream was to have my voice heard and because I'm literally talking to a microphone, but to me it's hey, the microphone's not gonna get distracted or have other things to do. Like, it's always there. I can always, hit record and just like, tell a story and all that. So that's like basically my motto is like, don't lose sight of like who you are. Like, don't change who you are, because you are only you.
Okay. And once again, Chaotic Neutral, thank you for being on West Virginia Uncommon Place. And audience, once again, there's a lot of shows out there that you can listen to. I appreciate you listening to this, and definitely give Chaotic Neutral a listen. And Chaotic Neutral, one last time, where can they find you and where can they hear your podcast?
They can find me on Instagram at Chaotic Neutral Pod.
Okay. And I thank you once again. Signing off, West Virginia Uncommon Place.